Alright guys, this is my Sunday video which let's focus on health today. Like I said, business stuff's progressing but nothing really update at the minute. It's not suddenly going to jump overnight, so that's an ongoing saga. But some of the stuff that's going on is pretty good, so I can't really grumble. But today I want to talk about health a bit, and because this year I'm sort of hitting the big 5-0. I'm doing a lot more on the fitness side at the minute, and it sort of relates because it's quite funny. I was looking back. I can't remember who I was talking to about this. I was talking about when I was a kid, because my parents weren't really into vegetables and stuff, ever. Even as adults, in the sense we were adults, they were still not. Veg wasn't on their mindset. I remember my father talking about Brussels sprouts and the fact that when he was a kid and poor, he had to eat Brussels sprouts. So once he could afford not to, he didn't eat them. Which, yeah, but that also went down the route of many other vegetables. That's probably why they both died quite early on. Besides the bad NHS, you can't say that. But yeah, misdiagnosis with the NHS. Was the be all and end all as far as I'm concerned. But anyway, that's not what we're talking about today. So, majority of my childhood food was chips. Like sack of spuds come in. I think it was on a Wednesday. I think it was about £3.50 for a giant sack, and that was delivered every Wednesday. And we went through the sack every single week, which was probably 20 odd kilos of potatoes every week that were kept in like the old, probably used to be the old cold store, coal, as in coal fired plants, like for power. But because we didn't have coal, we'd progressed onto electricity and things like that. The building was still there, but not the coal. So potatoes used to get stored there because it was nice and damp and a constant temperature outdoors. But the point is, we went through a sack of potatoes a week for a family of 6. So you can do the maths on that. But at the same time, we weren't overweight. And this gets back to where I'm heading with this, because there's a lot of stuff out there about what to eat, what you should be doing, buy this, buy that. I'm taking it back to simple terms where you'll find a lot of these people that are sort of shredded are basically doing what we were doing naturally when I was a kid. Because you had chips and egg, chips and sausage, chips and spam, chips and beans, chips and egg and beans, chips and then we may get Sunday dinner, but often be Friday night, be fish and chip shop, and on the Sunday, maybe the Sunday roast. Not a lot of fruit in that diet. No, not a lot of vegetables in that diet. We weren't overweight either. The reality is, have a look at the ingredients in food. Let's be honest, that is your problem. There's a lot of chemicals and other bits being added which aren't for you. They were never naturally in your diet. This is why I find this whole vegan thing a bit, let's go all plant-based and whatever. I'm like, well, why can't we just have a lettuce? Why can't we just have, like, my smoothies? I've got to admit, I've already ground it up now, so you won't be able to see it. But what I do is I buy, let's grab one of these. This is just about to go in the bin because this is the ones I've just finished. See, I get these from Mindful Chef, right? So, they're nothing too exciting. But let's have a read of the nutrition values. So, per 100 grams, 260, so 62 kilogram, what's that? There's kilojoules, 265 kilojoules per sort of sachet, I think. Now 371 kilojoules. Where's the... Yeah, so 87 calories in one of these sachets. 0.1 gram of fat, 15.4 is sugar, so still fairly high in sugar, but that'll make sense in a minute. 2.8 grams in fiber, 1.3 grams in protein, and no salt. Where's the numbers? Where's the additives, colouring, naming, whatever you want to call it, this, that? There aren't any. All they are, in fact, let's get another one out of the fridge, because I like these, to be fair. All I do is I throw in coconut water. That's it. That's all that goes in these. Let's see what's in my coconut water. Anything in there? Hang on. Here we go. Coconut water, 99%. Sugar, less than 1%, which I assume is the natural sugar in there. So let's grab one of these. So this is, what's it, acai. No refined sugars, no dairy, gluten-free. And this is what you get. These are, I buy a lot of these, to be fair, because they're a nice boost. And that's what you get, right? You probably noticed it's just cut up bits of fruit and veg and maybe the odd bit of grain now and again. That's all that's in these. And you probably can see the calorie count's very low on these. But also there's nothing in them. There's no chemicals in them. There's no additives. There's no colourings. There's no flavourings. This is why when people say cut out bread, cut out dairy products, I don't think you need to cut them out. I think you need to just look for the ones that are what they are. You know, like if you look at bread, it's bread five main ingredients, and I think you can get that down to 3 if you had to. You look on the side of a bread packet. There's 30 odd ingredients in there. It's all the additives, the preservatives, the bits and pieces to make it last longer, and all this stuff that aren't natural to your body. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is I know some of you guys would be, like me, I enjoy my food. But when I'm away, like say working in London and stuff, when you're getting back to the hotel at 9 o'clock at night and the restaurant's closed, there ain't a lot of options out there. So what I do is often I won't eat. And I've gone more that route lately because I was buying things like KFC and pizzas and stuff like that, but I'm dropping all that out of my diet. Because I'm going back to more of a traditional diet, and it's the same as you'll hear people talk about the caveman diet. The caveman diet is very similar in the sense of it maybe going down the route of meats or whatever, but the key to it is the removing food that's been messed around with. And that's why, like I say, with the vegan stuff, right, I'm not, people want to be vegan, it's fine, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of options out there just to go back to the basics. It's like I bought some rump steak. I'm going down this healthy route. Doesn't mean I cut out meats. It just means I'm actually like there. It'll be the rump steak with a bit of salt, a bit of pepper, and nothing else. I get my fruits and my fibre, and I have a lot of granola and granola with Greek yogurt where there's nothing added to it. There's a lot of stuff out there which tastes good, and just bear that in mind when you're looking at your food cart. Just think, what are you buying, and is it better? Can you do an alternative and swap something that's processed, which isn't healthy, to getting more fruit? Got bananas over there, oranges over there, and try and go down the route of a more healthier lifestyle without actually changing that much. Like I said, we used to live on potatoes. Bear in mind that's all pre-processed food as well. That's when I don't think Iceland even existed or was just becoming something. So you couldn't buy the frozen food you could do today. And now you look at the supermarkets, nearly everything's processed and very little is off the shelf. Because even like rotisserie chickens, that's another good one I have for when I lose weight, to eat chicken. Rotisserie chicken you can get from Morrison supermarkets, but you see Tesco's doesn't have it. Yeah, just a few thoughts on the. If you want to do something a bit more healthy, you may find that just doing a bit more research on what you're buying and swapping it out for other stuff may be better. And it may be good timing as well, because I see a lot of things like ketchup and beans and things going up in price, where making your own may actually work out A, better for you, but B, may not be that far off price wise. Yeah, so that's what I was bringing up on that side. But then I'm sort of looking at I tell you what, my YouTube's gone mental since they put them shorts on there. I keep getting a lot of stuff in my streams that I wouldn't normally watch. But in the morning, I sit and get my Ukraine updates, and then at the same time, these things keep appearing. I'm seeing things about the well-being. It's quite an interesting one today where somebody was on about the well-being for males, because the big thing that's changed in society is this men being in touch with their emotions, men this, men that, men should go for counselling, men going into counselling. 8% of males that commit suicide, I believe, went for counselling. Over 8% of the people working in counselling are female. Why is it relevant? Well, I'll give you my perspective. It's a bit like talking to somebody with addiction. If, someone's got a gambling addiction, I have no idea how to fix that for them. In the same way, if somebody's got a drinking addiction, drug addiction, the easiest people to actually help them out of that rut is people that have gone through it. A lot of the stuff with psychology is not from experience. It's from what they've been taught, what they've learned, often from single perspectives. And a good example of things that can be misunderstood or become a truth from a false is when you look at TV shows relating to hundreds of years ago, and you'll see them dancing and whatever, but that was never documented, so we have no idea what they were doing. They may have been playing electric guitars. I don't know, but the point is, it's historians' mindset of like, oh, I could imagine this, imagine that, and it becomes fact because they then lecture that as if it's fact. It's not fact. They don't know. If it's not written down, nobody knows. So you got to take those sort of things into context, because when you start looking at, oh well, I think the best things for you is, okay, well, hang on, what do you know about it? Let's face it. If somebody says to me, I've got an addiction issue, my best advice is to speak to somebody else with an addiction, the same addiction. Even a different addiction may have a different thing. I've no idea. But the point is, why would I assume I knew better than somebody that's gone through the same thing? Yeah, a lot of these people do. They assume they've got the answers to it all. It's the same as like the shed clubs. I'm 100% behind shed clubs, which are for guys. It's, as far as I'm concerned, it should be guys only, remain guys only. Males are predominantly productive. So somebody that's redundant, somebody that's retired, somebody that's widowed, they need to be productive. Otherwise, they end up sticking their head in a noose and calling it a day. Shed clubs fill that gap, even if it's not producing anything of financial value. It's giving value to the individuals, giving them things to think about, things to do, things to understand. And that is important for guys at their end of working life, in the sense of you may move from one point to retirement or whatever, but it doesn't mean you're retired. It doesn't mean you're finished. It means you're moving to doing stuff that you may choose to do, like to do, or take an interest in doing, rather than having to do it to pay bills. It's important there. In the same way, people shouldn't be dictating to these people that they need therapy or whatever. Guys generally should keep stuff to themselves, as far as I'm concerned. I get it if you have your best mate and you can sit and whine and moan and complain about stuff together. That's helpful, because you bounce off each other. You go, oh, work this week or whatever. That's useful. I don't think being in touch with your feelings and everything else is right. I don't think it's helpful. I think it's a mixed emotion from a female perspective. Because I don't tell women what they to do. That's just crazy. I was listening to someone earlier that sort of filled this gap quite well. It's a similar thing, but I forgot the chain of thought on it. But it's a bit like when your partner asks you, like, say you're painting a room, would you like yellow or green? Now you already know they've already made their mind up, but they're asking you for whatever reason. From a guy's perspective, no idea why. Is it a reaffirmation, or is it a fact that if it goes wrong, it's your fault? Whatever. But the point being is, you go, oh, I like yellow, and I go, no, I prefer the green. We'll get the green. They've already decided. But the thing is, that's fine, because you already know they've already decided, and most guys will probably be like, yeah, do what you want, but they want to have the conversation, even though they're going to go back to the default anyway, which is they've already made their mind up. So you just go through this dance of a conversation that has the same output as if the conversation hadn't even happened, but for some reason partners feel like you're included or whatever, because they ask you even though they'd already decided anyway. That's part of life. Now, the reason I'm sort of bringing this stuff up is I think there's been too much changes from the 60s into the education systems. This is why you're finding a lot of issues in healthcare, education, government, because a lot of the perspectives were altered. It's like being a guy, I was listening today, because I remember watching things like, even going back to Grease, the movie, where they're doing the auto shop, where they're learning how to fix cars and stuff. Why haven't we got that in the schools? In there, they obviously did have it, and a lot of that stuff was removed. But I tell you now, a lot of guys are hands-on. They're carpenters, they're metal workers, they're welders, they have their place in society, but we've been removing stuff from them that still has opportunities. You go, well, there's no opportunity as a welder. You're right, but there's opportunities as an artist. There's opportunities for fabricators. There's still opportunities out there for many things that have been taken off the opportunities. Because they go, oh, you can learn that when you go to college. Why? Why don't you find your true calling when you're younger? Why does it need to wait until you've gone through high school and everything else and go, these are the careers you're going? There's a lot more interesting stuff out there, because it's not just about that. Like I said, you find other opportunities in it. It's about opening your mind to things you haven't done before. Learn how to use a grinder or a welder or something that improves your health and safety, because this big thing can weld things to another thing, or this thing can cut bits off. It teaches you a bit of discipline. It teaches you a bit of respect of machinery and plant equipment and equipment that may spark something inside you going, I love this is me. Where sitting talking, like I remember when I was at school, I'd come up from Germany, and I was studying the Iran-Iraq War and the fall of the Berlin Wall. I came to the UK. They're discussing crop rotations and lock gates and toll roads. I'm not going to fill the gap with a swearing word, but the fact is, what a load of rubbish. Drivel, boring, waste of time, useless information, where the other stuff had a bit of an understanding of politics, a bit of understanding of different parts of the world, the Middle East, and also Russia and the West and the politics around that. Far more in-depth and contextual to open your mind to other things, rather than going, there's a road, they put a house at the road, you pay a toll. Who cares? Who cares? Crop rotations. I'm not a farmer. If I want to have a farm, maybe I'll look at crop rotation. Thank you very much. Don't need to study it for 2 years. The point being is, a lot of this stuff is garbage in the syllabus. And if we're not helping our kids learn themselves, don't rely on the education system. And it's a bit strange because I remember this even myself with my daughter, and even myself when I was younger with this. The school wants to take ownership but no responsibility. So they get set your homework, but there wasn't really a drive to do the homework. It's the same with reading and writing. My brothers were nowhere near as good at reading and writing as I was. I used to get the slap round the head off my dad when get your handwriting wrong. Those positive reinforcements on learning to read and write. But the point being is, when my brothers couldn't do it at secondary school, because even now, well, one's dead, the other one's still atrocious at his handwriting. They said it's the parents' fault. I was like, okay, I get some of this because it should be driven from both sides, but the school want to push their agenda and everything else. But then when it comes to actually the fundamentals, oh no, we don't teach any of that. Okay, can't read or write, but I can drive a tractor. Sounds like the start of a song. So, from my perspective, just be aware that if you've got kids, put the effort in yourself. Don't rely on the education system. It's a mess. The same is, let your kids be kids. There's this whole political agenda garbage, which is, it's going to fall on its backside at some point. But it's important that kids evolve. It's like, you'll see my son has got access to all my stuff, my camera equipment, my computers, the drones, whatever he wants. This last week, he started his piano lessons. Now, he's self-taught. He's already done a fair bit on the app. Then he went to his first lesson, and my wife recorded it, and he's already pretty good. And the teacher turned around and says, "Look, if you get him I think they have a 44 and 84. I don't know, size, number of keys. If you get him a full keyboard, a full piano set, he'll be able to play in the academy's what do you call it? Not presentation. What they have, their show type thing, in a month." Basically, the teacher turned around saying, "Yeah, he's already very good. He needs a full keyboard so he can move to the next level," and that's his first lesson. So what do? Get him a keyboard. Make it happen. You've got to drive your kids that way. No one else is. You look at how much effort in your kid's school it goes into music. I bet you it's not very much. And the reason I bring it up is because my kids are very talented. When my daughter's good at singing, my son's good at musical instruments. He already, he can play by ear. So although he can read music, he can literally play it just after hearing it. My daughter's not far off the same. She already did that with the xylophone and stuff, but I don't think, because she's gone to secondary, I don't think they've invested the time in there. But like yesterday, She's got my son's old keyboard, so that she's now got access to her own keyboard to actually start doing stuff, but she's more into drawing and stuff, so there's a whole ream of stuff around that I put money into. Invest in your kids. You are the best investor in your kids' future. And one of the things I will say is things like learning a musical instrument is not just about the sound, it's about the discipline. It's about being able to keep going. And it takes a long time to learn an instrument, but eventually they'll get it. And once they do get it, that's a life skill. That's something you've got for your entire life. Invest in your kids. It's like I was saying, with welding, with fixing stuff. I get my son to fix stuff around the house. He's got access to all my tools. I'll give him things to do. Why? Because they're life skills. They don't seem to be getting taught anymore in school. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's gone crazy. I think there's too much of this drivel going on, which is misdirected. It's not teaching kids anything. I've got to admit, if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? And no, not everybody is equal. Everyone has something they're good at. That's one thing I will say. I've met some people that could be absolute tools, but they can draw, or they can play an instrument, or they can do a specific task better than anybody I've ever seen. But in a lot of other stuff, absolutely useless. But at the same time, not everybody's equal. That's just silly. Everybody can have the same opportunity, but the outcomes will not always be the same. I'll be honest with you, I'm a bit disappointed I'm not 6'6", but otherwise I'd have been a basketball player. I loved basketball when I was younger, but hey ho, I'm vertically challenged. But that's the point. Still love basketball, but I know I will never be an international player on it. All we can do is give the best opportunities to our kids, and they're either going to be good, or if they're not good, still support them. But let's keep reality in there. Yeah, I think it's important kids are allowed to be kids. Just ignore this transgender nonsense that's out there at the minute. I'm trying not to get political on this stuff, but one of the key things on that is a lot of the problems people are having is around confusion on what they are, what they want to be, and all this sort of stuff, because I think they've had the inability to just let things be. They're allowed to overthink things and overcomplicate things and not fully come to an understanding, because that comes with experience. Trying to get kids and whatever into you're this, you're that, you're pigeonholing. You're pigeonholing kids. Nobody should pigeonhole kids. Kids should evolve and then make it up. They decide what they are probably in their 20s. Get people, I knew I was this when you were 18. Well, good on you. But leave everyone else alone. Let everyone go through life and work out things for themselves. I didn't tell you what you needed to be, so don't tell other people what you need to be. Let them evolve, and if somebody decides, oh, I want to be this, good on you. I'm not going to hold it against you. Just let everyone else just be themselves. You probably noticed I'm a little bit off topic this week. That's because they've had a lot of information to digest. I've also done about 10 hours in the gym this week. And I'm just doing this video now before I head to the gym again. But the point is, you've got to align yourself to where you want to be. And one of the key things I would say is also align to help others where you can. And I think the Bud Light stuff has actually highlighted some of this stuff can be reversed. And don't get me wrong, it's not whether somebody should have the right to this, right to that, whatever. It's down to the fact that they're shouting everyone else down. Now, I'm a strong believer in IDC, which is I don't care. And it's not in a negative way. It's like literally, I don't care. I don't need to hear it. If you want to do something, you go off and do it. That's fine with me. As long as you're not hurting somebody, you're not killing anybody, you're not harming anybody, it's fine. It's not for me to know about. I didn't ask. But don't push it on my kids. Don't push it on myself. And a lot of it needs to stay out of advertising and business. It's got no place in it. A lot of the way it's been driven. It's worse. Well, it is fascism. Pushing the agenda above facts, pushing the agenda to suit themselves. It all goes down the route of fascism, which in history has got a nasty habit of kicking the other way quite hard, which is the main problem for me. If people want to be this, that, and the other, great. That's you go on. You be happy. But the biggest worry I have is when it goes the other way. Don't moan, because you push things until it broke. And history's repeated itself so many times on people pushing one agenda above another. Whether it's, you go back to Hotel Rwanda is a good movie to actually show how even that's like a false separation within the nation. So even there, I've got to be very careful how I say it without it being deemed as I'm trying to make things out as tribal, whether I'm trying to make it out as if it's some sort of demographic or something else. But the fact is, I believe it was the Hutu and the two, is it Hutu and, I'm not sure if it's Tutus. I don't think it's Tutus. But it was to do with it, I think it was the Belgians. Basically, when they colonized it, they created a demographic in there where basically if you're taller, longer nose, all this sort of stuff, to support the Belgians in controlling the country. So it become one group against the other group. Yeah, I believe they were both the same people. And then one side decided to deal with the others. Just watch Hotel Rwanda. You'll get the gist of it. But the point being is, like that, if they're the same people and you create a division in there and people aren't smart enough to see that's been done as a colonial thing, what do you think's going on today? It's exactly the same, divide and conquer. That's what I sort of say. I don't know. Don't care. IDK is another one. I don't know. Which, but I'm not going into those. But ID don't care. It's like switching off to it, moving away from it. It's important because, like it says, there's a lot of risk there for things swinging when the pendulum goes. But beyond that, it's been a good week. I'm more focused now on the breakout, so there's some big changes coming. Like I said, I'm working on my fitness at the moment, eating a lot of fruits, a lot of basic meat products and stuff, unprocessed, no potatoes, no, very low carb. But at the same time, it works, but it's just common sense. Let's be honest. Triple fried chips and all that didn't exist, as far as I'm aware. When I was a kid, we just had chips. It was like chips and this, chips and that, chips and that. There wasn't, very rare you seen a McDonald's when I was a kid. They still had the old calves. But the whole point is a lot of the stuff that's a problem now, and why are people so obese? It's because they're doing this, it's because they're doing that. It's because we're consuming 100 times more sugar than we did 100 years ago. It's because there's more cheap products going into our food. Yeah, there's not much you can do unless you're doing GM. You're doing some genetic engineering. There ain't much else you can do with a coconut, banana, orange, mixed fruit. They're still in their raw form. So unless it's going into the pesticides and everything else, you are limiting it a lot more compared to a ready meal, which has a mix of God knows what in it. Thanks for watching.